Hello to all. Good morning. My name is Shermon Osepa. I'm a strategic advisor with the Caribbean Telecommunications Union and also the coordinator for the Caribbean Artificial Intelligence Task Force. However, for this presentation, all the opinions and views are my own. So I'm very thankful, and I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this very important conference, Artificial Intelligence for AI. And basically, what I'm going to focus on is artificial intelligence and us, shaping the future of SIDS, small island development states, in the age of artificial intelligence. When we are seeing all these global developments ongoing, one of the things that we need to ask ourselves is what does these technologies mean to us, for us in this part of the world, and especially as small island development states? And that's exactly what I would like to focus a bit on. So I would like to highlight a bit some definitions when we talk about artificial intelligence. Then I will be looking at the global AI development timeline, small island development states, and the challenges that we are facing. How can we take full advantage of artificial intelligence? And then also a call to action. So let's get started with the definition of artificial intelligence. When you ask someone what is artificial intelligence, you may get a lot of different answers. But I believe this particular definition that I'm going to use is one that we can use as a kind of a point of departure. Artificial intelligence is the field of computer science dedicated to creating systems capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, and decision making. So basically, what we're seeing is that computer systems are taking over tasks that normally human beings are required to do, as I did mention, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, and decision making. And we also need to realize that there are three types of artificial intelligence. Let's focus on them. The first one is what we call narrow AI. This type of AI can perform only very specific tasks or limited set of tasks. Take, for example, a dog that has been trained to do some very specific task. For example, sniffing of firearms or drugs. That dog cannot do something else because it has been trained to do that very specific task. And that's exactly when we're talking about narrow AI. And we do have some examples out there like Siri and Alexa that a lot of us are using. And also the recommendation engines that we are seeing on Netflix and the YouTubes that we're using. All these are forms of narrow AI deployment. The next type of AI that we're noticing is what we call the general AI. And this AI is still very theoretical. It doesn't really exist as yet, but that's the direction where those promoting AI would like to go, whereby this kind of AI will take over and is able to reason, to plan, and to adapt exactly as human beings. So this AI has the ability to understand, learn, and apply knowledge across a wide range of tasks similar to human intelligence. And then we have the third type of AI that most of us are using, which we call the generative AI. And this AI can create new content, text, images, codes based on patterns that it has learned. And we do have a few examples out there focusing on text generation, ChatGPT. We have also image generation, Dale and Midjourney. And we also have, for example, the code generation. An example that we're seeing out there is GitHub and Copilot. So let's take a look now at the global AI development timeline. Around 1950, to be exactly that particular year, we have seen what we call the Turing test. This was done by a gentleman called Alan Turing, whereby he was able to propose a method to determine if a machine exhibits human-like intelligence. So in 1950, we have seen this kind of development with respect to AI that we are seeing in modern age. And then in 1956, there was a conference that they called the Dartmouth Conference, whereby, based on from 1950 to 1956, people continue to discuss and research on AI. And that term, artificial intelligence, was coined in that particular event. And then if we take a look in 1966, we see there the first, what we call the chatbot, Elisa. And in 1970, something very important, or it depends how you look at it, happened. We are seeing that the first, what we call the AI winter. So from 1950 to 1917, we have seen several developments, but suddenly in 1970, there was not much more happening. And that had to do with different challenges. For example, funding cuts due to overpromised results, etc., etc. And then it took 27 years until we have seen again some developments with respect to artificial intelligence. And in 1997, we have seen that ABM, which its Deep Blue machine, was able to beat Gary Kasparov, with who was the chess champion back then. So we saw then the first time where a machine was able to beat, let's say, a human being. And we're not talking just about anyone, but a world chess champion. In 2011, we are seeing also some other developments with ABM Watson's wins on Jeopardy. 2014, again, some great developments, the GANs, which stands for Generative Adversarial Network, being developed. 2016, again, Google with the DeepMind's machine, which has triggered a lot of developments with regard to the gaming industry. And then in 2020, where we are seeing a kind of a new era of AI, with the introduction of GPT-3, which was introduced by OpenAI. And nowadays, we also seeing a lot of other developments ongoing. So when we see all these developments with respect to AI, as I did mention in the beginning, we need to ask ourselves, what does all these developments mean to us in the global south, of which the Caribbean and is also part of? And we are seeing some great disparities happening. If we would like AI to flourish, then some certain conditions need to be in place. For example, you need to have a digital infrastructure, a telecommunications, internet infrastructure. You need to have human beings, human capital, of course, data ecosystem, funding, and policy and regulation. So let's take a look what is happening if we compare the global north and also the global south. Take, for example, the digital infrastructure. We are seeing in the global north advanced broadband, cloud computing, data centers, all these kind of developments happening in the global north. And when we look at the global south, of which we are part of, we see limited connectivity, high cost, fragmented infrastructure. When we look at the human capital, again, global north, large pool of AI researchers, engineers, and data scientists. Global south, brain drain, limited access to specialized training, small talent pool, etc., etc. We're happy with the experts that we have in the region, but this is the reality if we compare that with global north. When we look at the global, at the data ecosystem, the same thing. Global north, rich, structured, and accessible data sets. As you know, AI cannot flourish if we don't have data sets. And if we look at the global south, we see sparse, siloed, and often unstructured data, lack of open data policy. Funding, which is also a big problem and challenge for us in this part of the world. If we look at the global north, we see strong venture capital, governmental research and development, corporate investment taking place. And if we look in the Caribbean, global south, to be more specifically, limited funding, dependency on external donors, lower private sectors, and so on and so on. And now to speak about policy and regulation, the same thing. Global North, major AI strategy, ethical frameworks, data protection laws, and in the global south, emerging or absence of policies, slow legislative processes, lack of enforcement. And I have a few more, not going to mention all of them. You can see them over there. Research and innovation, the same thing. Big differences, global north and global south. If when we look at the language and localization, global north, we are seeing most of them that are based on English, Spanish, French, and mostly, let's say, European languages, and the global south on the representation of languages in the Caribbean as well. And when we look at the public awareness and trust, same thing, global north, high awareness, active civil society engagement, and in the global south, we see low digital literacy, mistrust in technology, and limited outreach. And not to speak about geopolitical influence. We can see them there as well. So AI in the Caribbean and also small island development states of which we are part of. What have we been doing so far? There are a few initiatives ongoing in this part of the world, in the Caribbean as well. For example, if we take the Caribbean, presently we have the Caribbean Artificial Task Force, of which, as I did mention, I'm the coordinator on behalf of the Caribbean Telecommunication Union, and we do have Dr. Craig Ramlal, who is the chair of that task force. But we also have other national AI task force in the Caribbean. For example, Jamaica is a good example. And several countries also working on strategies. That's basically what we're doing right now in the Caribbean. But we do have some challenges, as I did mention: infrastructure, data, sovereignty, skills gap. These are big challenges that we are facing. But we also have opportunities. We are able, or we can leapfrog. We have the potential to leapfrog based on development that we can use AI for. For example, climate resilience. In this part of the world, we are vulnerable to natural disaster. So we should and we can use artificial intelligence to help us a bit in that regard. Smart tourism. We depend heavily on tourism. So we should be using AI to enhance our industry, our tourist industry. And also, for example, agriculture. We can use that as well. We can use AI to have a much better agriculture. And all kinds of other developments that we are seeing, we should think about strategies whereby we can use AI to help us. So when we look at some strategic advantages for the small island development states, we see agility in policy making. AI can help us to be much more efficient when we are dealing and drafting policy, new policies in the region. We are already seeing some collaboration among, let's say, the Caribbean entities. For example, the CTU, CARICOM, OAS. But we need to enhance this. It doesn't make sense for all of us are going to fight with each other, but how can we collaborate and focus on something that is much bigger, that is better for all of us? Youth engagement and digital literacy. is also very important. We need to engage the youth. They have the bright minds. They have the energy. We should use them and take their advice to help us to advance AI development in the region. And as I did mention, AI for climate adaptation and disaster response. This region is very prone to natural disasters, so we should be using all these technologies to make a better Caribbean. And how can we take full advantage? There are a few areas that we need to focus on: policy and governance. Whenever we are drafting all these policy and governance, there are a few from international organization that have been working with Caribbean stakeholders. We should focus on ethical AI, data protection laws. Several Caribbean islands and countries have data protection laws, but not all of us. So we need to focus on those because they need to be in place. Capacity building, cloud access, data centers, connectivity. And we are seeing some developments with respect to data centers in the Caribbean. Countries that maybe don't have a data center, they should and could collaborate with others who does have, so that they don't have to replicate that same infrastructure again. When we look at innovation ecosystem, we need to find ways how to support, let's say, new startups and to develop regional AI hubs. And partnerships, very important. We need to collaborate with others, and especially to deal with the funding aspect that remains a big challenge here in the Caribbean. We cannot do it alone. We need to collaborate. We need to work with all stakeholders. We need to work with governments because they are the ones called to give direction in which direction we are to go. Policymakers, those who are entitled to draft legislation, we need to work with them. Academia, it's where we have the bright minds, people that can think, how can we use AI and develop new systems? So we need to collaborate and work with academia, the business community, where you have, let's say, all kinds of initiatives ongoing and also funding. We need to work with them. And the civil society that can give us direction regarding what kind of AI we should focus on. And not to forget the students and the youth, as I did mention, they are the future. So they are the ones that should also lead in which direction we should go. So a call to action. We have been working on a so-called regional AI strategy. As I did mention, the Caribbean Telecommunication Union is spearheading a Caribbean AI task force. The idea is for us to harmonize policy, not for each one of us to develop something different, but let's harmonize, let's say, these policies. And of course, I mean, you could give it, let's say, your local flavor. But generally speaking, we should know in which direction we are to go. And these regional AI strategies can help us to go in that direction. Public and private partnerships, very important. Governments and the private sector, we need to work together because the government could give direction, private sector, they have the funds. Let's come together and see how we can collaborate. Structural funding, as I did mention before, big challenge, especially for us in this part of the world. And inclusion of all in the Caribbean. The Caribbean doesn't exist only of, let's say, English-speaking people. I'm a good example myself, not a native English speaker, but we should collaborate with others. French territory, Dutch, Spanish. Let's come together and make the Caribbean bigger by uniting all the power of all these different nations. And these are some of the references that I've used for this presentation. And I would like to thank you. Again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak at your event. AI is very important and timely topic that we need to take full advantage of. Let's focus and let's make the Caribbean much better, bigger by working all together. Again, thank you very much and have a successful event. Thank you.